my mother's neighborhood drama. It has been extremely highly requested, so let's do it. Now, first off, don't forget, I do have a Patreon that's always linked in the description box, and over there I go into more detail about my life, a little more personal story times. Just did a holiday chit chat / get ready with me, talking about my Thanksgiving holiday and Black Friday, stuff like that. So it's always an option if you're looking for more content from me. Down below will be a blue link. Just click on the link. It'll take you to the separate platform. But anyways, tonight we're going to talk about my mother's neighborhood and the different craziness that goes on over there. Now we haven't covered everybody in part 1. If you haven't seen it, I would go back and watch that first so that this makes a little more sense. I'm kind of going through each neighbor that's in a close proximity, and there's still maybe 2 or 3 people we haven't covered yet. So that's what we're going to get into first, and then I'll give you a little update on a couple of the other neighbors. So the first, look at me. The first neighbor we're going to cover tonight, we'll call him Jay. And Jay has I believe it's just his girlfriend, fiance. They are engaged. So Jay and his fiance, and they are, I would say, middle-aged, and they have families of their own, and they kind of, found each other after they both divorced. And now they live next door to my mom. And they are excellent neighbors. They're really nice people, and much better and way less drama than the neighbors my mom had before, which we went over them already. So Jay and his fiance his fiance is a nurse, and he is a home inspector. And when they moved in, they had a lot to work with as far as what they wanted to do with the house, because the people that lived there previously, like I said, kind of left it a little bit disheveled. So they've kind of, since they moved in a couple years ago, been doing a lot of updates and things like that. Now, my mom's home, not to sound like, oh, my mom has the best house on the street, but she really does. Hers and maybe like 1 or 2 other homes are just like the homes on the street. People stop by all the time and will like hand her business cards and tell her that if she ever plans to sell her home, to call them first because they would buy it. She has like a triple city lot, I believe, so she has a decent amount of land, and in the city that's kind of unheard of, and not a lot of people have that. She has a very nice backyard, built-in fire pit, and a standalone garage with a patio, and the house is very desirable. So when they moved in, obviously they, have my mom's house to look at. There's just like a chain link fence on that side, where my mom has like wooden fences all the other way around, because that's technically not her property, so she wouldn't be able to change that fencing unless she asked them permission, which, I mean, well, I haven't said yet, but Jay is kind of one of those people that wants to have the best of the best, right? Which is a good thing. I mean, he wants his home to look beautiful and presentable. He kind of seems like he's a little bit like one of those people that will admire something but not really give a compliment, like kind of one of those people. And he'll ask a lot of questions like, oh, I see your mom doing this and this. Is she doing a new update? Is she changing something? Oh, I seen a delivery truck. What did she get? Like kind of one of those people that'll pry a little bit and very curious about what the next person's doing, but at the same point, if he sees an update to the home, he won't be like, oh, that looks really nice. So, the reason I'm going down this rabbit hole is because during the summer, my mom had her front driveway done, her sidewalk, and her porch redone. And we ended up hiring somebody, another neighbor, and I'll get to that sweet family. They're a very Italian, old school Italian family, and they're just chef's kiss. Like they're amazing people. We hired somebody from that family to do the work on the side, and where we live, you have to have a permit from the state, from the city, to be able to make changes to your home. You have to hire somebody that has a license, and they have to take out a permit. Otherwise, you can get a fine. So, Jay is literally one of those people that would come out and fine you. Like, that's what his job is. He works for the city for his housing inspector. So, my mom gets his work done, right? Clearly, Jay can see that we hired this neighbor. Now, him and this neighbor got kind of into like a little tiff because he wanted work done and he didn't like the quote that this neighbor gave him, and they kind of like exchanged words over it. So there was a little bit of like beef going on there, right? So when he's seen that this neighbor was doing work for my mom and doing an update for my mom, because like I said, he's very invested in what's going on with updates as far as like my mom's property goes. He peeped the scene and seen like, okay, she's getting this and this done. I wonder if he has a permit. Probably not. He, is doing this on the side. So my mom has the work done. The work is complete. And the very next day that after the work was done, everything was still drying, like the cement hadn't even set yet. And my mom gets a knock on the door. She answers the door and she sees somebody holding a like a binder type thing, and kind of look very serious. And she's like, "Can I help you?" And the man's like, "Yes." Somebody anonymously called the city and said that you were having work done on your home by somebody who was not licensed and did not have a permit to do the job. Anonymously. Sir. Now, mind you, before Jay moved in, my mom has had work done by this man before. She's had home improvements done by this man before on the street, and literally nobody, this has never happened before in all of the improvements she's had done on that home in all these years. Nobody has ever called. Like, this has never happened, and the city doing that exact thing. You mean to tell me that it was anonymous? So, needless to say, we knew that Jay snitched, and the funny thing is that the man did have a permit, and he did have a license to do it. At the time that Jay got a quote from him, he didn't, but he went and got all of that stuff done beforehand. So, my mom had her I's and T's crossed. My mom is the kind of person that she's never smoked a cigarette. She's never smoked, like, anything for that matter. She's very straight edge. She's gone through some things, she's not like a goody two-shoe, but like, she follows the rules. I don't think she's ever had a speeding ticket. Like, she's just very calm and poised and just like a good citizen. So like, she would never do something that wasn't right. She wouldn't be trying to get away with like not having the person get a permit, and it costs extra money that usually the homeowner has to come up with. So that's why a lot of people don't get permits and try to get around it, or they'll hire somebody who doesn't have a license, because that person will do it for a lot cheaper than somebody who does have a license, if that makes sense. So he was trying to like get my mom a fine. Like, really? You're that salty? So ever since then, I've kind of had a bone to pick with Jay, and my mom was like, please don't start any trouble, like, don't say anything. She didn't want the confrontation. She has to live next to this person, and they actually get along very well, which is odd. I think he did it more or less like out of the beef with the other neighbor, but it's like, you did it to my mom, because my mom would have been the one who got the fine. Do you know what I'm saying? And he very much knew that, because this is what he does for a living. So it's like that situation where, be nice to somebody, keep the peace in the neighborhood, but don't trust them as far as you can throw them, And that's just kind of how I live my life in general. I have people that I trust and I love, that I've known for a long time and who have proved themselves, and everybody else is kind of like, guilty until proven innocent, and that's just what it is. So yeah, we kind of didn't get off on the best foot with little Jay, but his fiance is like the sweetest thing, and he kind of has that little big man mentality where he thinks like he's the king of his castle. Like, he has a son and a daughter. They don't live with him, but his daughter's child, which is his grandson, will come over all the time, because she, I think, is going to nursing school, and whatever the situation is with the father, I don't think he's really in the picture that much, so he'll come over to his grandpa's house a lot. And it's his grandson, it's not his girlfriend's grandson. They're not like blood related, right? And he will have his girlfriend do like the homeschooling. He just wants nothing to do with it. Like, he's above it, And they have a dog, which he got the dog. He's the one that wanted the dog. His fiance really didn't want this dog, didn't really care to get a dog, but he did. So she's like, okay, we could get a dog. says is, where's the alcohol? He always goes over there and gets his greenery, and he'll like mow his lawn in exchange for green. It's just hysterical. They're just a really funny like bromance that they got going on. They'll fight, and then like they'll be at each other's throats and they won't talk for months, and then they're like back to being besties. So just hysterical. Oh, I wanted to give you a little update on the guy next door that the other next door neighbor. What did I call him in the thing? Sam, maybe. I think I called him Sam, but we're gonna call him S today. And he's the one that's the garbage man that had all the drama with the girls. Okay, so a little updated situation on him. He sells like used cars, and what he does is like drive them from state to state. So if you go on like Carvana and buy a car in Massachusetts, he would be the person to drive it from state to state and gets a cut, pretty nice cut from the sale of the vehicle. So he does that on the side, and whatever he got caught taking had to do with like his side business. So I don't really know exactly what it was, but the reason we found out, how we found out that, was because another neighbor, which we're gonna call Baker Man, told us, because he also works for the city and he's kind of jealous of Sam, because Sam, like I said, has always had a crush on my mom, and it's very evident. And my mom's just a nice person. Like, she gets along with everybody. She doesn't like to hurt people's feelings, so she's just very kind and like makes food for people, and she's just like the sweetest little neighbor. She really is. Mr. Baker Man and my mom have known each other for like 30 years, and my brother and his son were best friends, and his son unfortunately died very tragically when he was 13 years old, and it really had a huge impact on my brother and my mom, and it kind of connected my mom and Mr. Baker Man, and they've been friends ever since. And he has like the biggest in-ground pool, and every year we walk down to his house and go swimming and stuff, and he's just a very nice person. But he's been in love with my mom forever. I mean, like in love. Like, he tells her, like, you are the love of my life, and you know, he has a wife, so it's like my mom's like, you know, please save it. You have a wife, like, you shouldn't be telling me these things. And she doesn't look at him like that. But he's like made her love CDs and like dropped him off on her car. And my mom was dating somebody at the time, and like just craziness. And every Valentine's Day he'll drop over like 3 dozen roses at the door, and we always know it's from him. But anyway, so Mr. Baker Man knows that Sam has a crush on my mom and is kind of jealous of like their friendship. So anytime there's any tea on Sam, Mr. Baker Man will tell my mom to kind of like shade him. So he told us that, and my mom had seen that Sam hadn't been going to work and kind of wondered, like, you know, I wonder what's going on. Well, we found out that tea, and Sam so around this time, which is a couple weeks ago, Sam knocks on my mom's door, and I'm on the is weird. You need to ask some questions, Mom. You don't just give them a ride and not ask what's going on. Like, ask where you're going. Like, this is just bizarre. Usually if somebody asks for a ride, it's like, hey, I have to go to the doctor. Can you drop me off? Or, hey, I have a dentist appointment. Can you drop me off? Not just, hey, can you drive me here? Wait for me, and then take me back home. And not say what it's about. Like, that's shady. I went and got a sucker. There's a little mini one. I ordered a pizza today, and they give you these little suckers. It is a green apple Tootsie Pop, which I've never had a green apple Tootsie Pop. It's gonna make my tongue ring. So, needless to say, shocker, it was shady. My mom ended up doing it because, again, I told her not to. My boyfriend told her not to. She didn't listen. She wanted to be Miss Nice Woman and help her neighbor out, and did it. And she said that she was like, they're friends, so you felt comfortable being like, hey, Sam, you gotta tell me what's going on. Like, where am I taking you? And she straight up said, like, I don't want to get into anything shady. And he was like, of course. Oh no, I just have to meet my buddy down there. He's gonna help me. Something to do with the cars, like the shipment of the cars. And it's like, well, why didn't your girlfriend take you? Or why didn't you drive? Like, something doesn't add up there. So my mom said they got to the destination, and he got out to the car and met some guy. And when the guy got out of the car, I guess the guy was like, who are you with? What? Shady. Very shady. And they just did some kind of exchange, and he got back in the car and off they went. Which is very weird. I mean, it was in the middle of the day, and it was at a casino where there's a ton of cameras, so I don't know. I don't think it was like that shady, but it still was a little odd that he wouldn't have his girlfriend drive him, or he wouldn't have drove himself. I'm having sugar and it's 1 in the morning. My face is a little swollen because I did so much crying this weekend. Literally cried and cried and cried. I'm okay. You guys are always so sweet, and you worry about me, and I promise I'm okay. I just have a lot on my mind and a lot going on family-wise, but sometimes you just need a good cry, So I'll end this video with talking about the sweet Italian family. And they've lived there forever. And they're just a very traditional Italian family. And it's a pretty big house. It's like one of the biggest houses on the street. And it was a husband and wife originally, and their children the city, they're not. Nobody has roosters in the city. So it would be the crack of dawn and everybody's sleeping from work, and this rooster would be like cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo, and waking everybody up. And somebody ended up reporting them because you're not allowed to have roosters in the city. And it ended up, I think, pretty sure got taken away. But their intentions were pure. It's not like they were like, you know, not taking care of the rooster. The rooster was in danger. Like, that rooster had the life. But it's just not allowed in the city that they live in. But the mother is getting older, and she's probably in her 80s now. And she's slowing down. And so her daughter lives with her, and she works like 3 jobs, so she's not there that much. And then her son, which happens to be my son's godfather, lives there, and he moved home from Indiana to help take care of her. He's just like the best son in the entire world. Gave up his life. His partner still lives there. They own a pet shop, and they have a home and their own set of life and animals down there. And he's pretty much, you know, doing a long-distance relationship and going back and forth, which with COVID, he's not able to go back a lot, and my heart breaks for him. Just so he can be home with his mom and take care of her, which, how sweet, right? And he's an amazing godfather as well. He's just such a good guy. And I just found him a little puppy as a present because his dog died. So sad. Passed away. And just of like old age, you know. And because of the pandemic, it is very hard. It's very hard to find dogs where we live. They're all adopted. And we like to adopt over here. From, of course, I mean, adopt. But we like to get them from, you know, either a shelter, a SPCA, something like that. And they're very scarce because that is one good thing that came out of all of this is a lot more people are getting pets because they're home more. So that's good for the little sweet babies. These little sweet baby animals. I'm such an animal lover. If I could save every animal, I would. I just love them all. They're so sweet and innocent. Nothing worse than a person that hurts an animal. Like, I can't deal. Worst kind of people. Anyway, ended up finding him a puppy. It's a little black lab, and his name is Louie. And he's so sweet, so well behaved, already so well trained. And my son loves him. It's super cute. He's already getting so big. But at least he has Louie to keep himself busy since he can't, you know, go back and forth a lot because of COVID. But yeah, they are a very funny family. They fight a lot. Like, they fight hard, but they love hard. You can hear them screaming at each other in Italian from across the street. But then the next breath, they're picking each other their favorite foods, and, you know, they would, you know, kill somebody for one another. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of the updates as of right now. I think we've covered almost all the neighbors. There's one more, maybe 2, that I'd like to cover before we get into like just generalized updates in the next one.